Hi, I'm Natasha Ryan with Premier Risk Solutions, and this is our video series, Strong, Safe, and True, where we talk to leaders in the security world about relevant topics to today. And today we're going to do something a little different. Instead of having a PowerPoint and a deck and bullet points, I just want to have a real conversation with Michele Gay, who founded Safe and Sound Schools. And I want you to hear her story, and then we can bring it back to how important it is to have the proper security in schools and raise awareness and the education behind it, and talk about, how you can do that through risk assessments and having consultants come in and really look at what needs to change to keep kids safe. So Michele, give us a little bit about your background and why you founded your organization.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Fun to chat.
I know.
So I'm a teacher by trade. I'm an elementary school teacher. And during the time in my life where my husband and I were starting our family, I had the unique blessing, the opportunity to be a stay-at-home mom for a little while. So while I was on child rearing leave from teaching, my husband got a great job opportunity in the Northeast. And since I wasn't, physically attached to this geographic area of Maryland, we just went up and followed that. And it took us to Newtown, Connecticut. And we loved it so much that what was supposed to be a short little stint up there just turned into more than 7 years. So our youngest of the three girls, when we moved, was about 2 months old. And then when we were about to move a little further north to Massachusetts, Joey, or, she's Josephine, but we always called her Joey, she was 7 years old. So we were excited about that move, on the verge of that move. And of course, that's when the tragedy struck. And we lost Joey at Sandy Hook School on December 14th, 2012. So, I walked through that day like way too many people, and we all had our own experiences and I think callings as a result of that day. But for me, it was so clear. I mean, I was sitting in the parking lot that day praying, and it was a clear message. You have to do something. This is so many years after Columbine, and here we are in the same place. So little by little, I just started finding my way forward and connecting with amazing people. And one of the first people that I connected with was another mom who lost her daughter, Emily. And it turns out that the two girls were really good friends. I didn't always get the inside scoop because my Josephine was apraxic and autistic, so she was nonverbal. But apparently these two were fast friends, and so her mother and I became really close, and we ended up going on and founding Safe and Sound Schools. And since then, we've been connecting with amazing people like you, experts from all different disciplines of safety, mental and behavioral health, health and wellness, which is obviously, right up front right now, physical safety and security, leadership, law, all of those things that go into building and sustaining a safe school program. So the work has been healing, the work has been amazing. And at Safe and Sound Schools, we create and source and find the master class, if you will, out there and bring them to school communities. So it's an amazing body of work, and it's a tremendous honor to have built this legacy and keep building this legacy for my daughter, Josephine.
Here's why I love this, because not only did you take something horrific that is every parent's worst nightmare. I'm going to try not to cry because I dropped my little one off her first day of pre-K last week. So, but you took something horrific and you are making change from it. And I would imagine, sometimes security isn't seen as something that people want to deal with because it's not a problem yet. So it seems like a lot of money up front and they don't want to do it. But I would imagine when you come to a school and you deliver these messages, they're probably more receptive to you. Do you find that?
Absolutely. I mean, I just think you hit the nail on the head. I think it's sort of, our community's fine. We've never had issues like that. We moved here because it's a safe place and the people are wonderful and we all know each other. And then when they hear me talk about that's how Newtown is, I mean, it is this amazing back in time, Mayberry kind of community.
Yeah.
And it's a
Yeah.
wonderful place to raise your family. And I mean, crime, what crime? We had like, parking tickets, speeding tickets,
Yeah.
those sort of
Yeah.
things. So when people hear me describe the community and then realize, oh gosh, it really it sounds like my community.
Mhm.
It's a kind of a wake up call that we just don't, when it comes to our children, have the luxury of saying, oh no, we can defer that to later. We're good for now. We'll wait till some budget money comes in to address the problem or the issue. We don't have that privilege to do that. And when it comes to our kids, why would we want to do that?
Absolutely. And, if I had a dime for every time in the news business, I heard, I never thought it could happen here. I never thought it could happen to me. I never thought it could happen to my kids. It can happen anywhere to anyone at any time. And that's why what you're doing is so important. So, the mission, of course, is to get schools to wrap their heads around what is missing in the security realm of keeping the kids safe inside those walls, right? So my question to you is, if you had like three of the biggest gaps you see and just not quick fixes, but the most important fixes that you repeatedly see at schools, what are they?
Wow. I think complacency, which we were just talking about, this sort of
Mhm.
false sense of security is a biggie. And this also this notion that like somebody else is taking care of that. I don't have to worry about that. That's not my job. Um, Here again, if I had a dime, for every time I heard that, it's so unfortunate. So I think that, and then I also just think there's this perpetual tug of war between things like security and school-based mental health and climate and culture. And I think people fail to realize it's all part of the same body of work. So that's why we work so hard at Safe and Sound Schools to put forth a comprehensive framework for school safety. And one of the cornerstones, of course, is physical safety and security. Another is mental and behavioral health. Another is emergency operations and management. Another is culture, climate, and community. And two central pillars are health and wellness and leadership, law, and policy. All those things working together in concert are where we see school communities truly moving the needle and continually improving school safety. So if you're not continually improving and constantly working on this,
Mhm.
then you are behind. You are behind because this is an ever-changing world. That we're right in the middle of a pandemic right now, and believe me, that pandemic doesn't just touch and affect health and wellness in our communities. It's affecting mental and behavioral health. It's affecting threats to the school
Yeah.
community, the physical
Yeah.
safety and security, and on and on and on. So, really just kind of sometimes falling back into a comfortable narrative, I would say, is a big deal. And then just from the more practical side, failing to apply the basics of security to the school environment. Like when we go to the bank, we're very accustomed to the types of procedures and protocols that are there at the bank, just like at the airport, even jewelry stores, places in the
Yeah.
mall, those types of things. Yet here in our schools, there's always this pushback, like, oh, we want it to be warm and welcome and opening. Well, yeah, of course we do. That's the point of the place. And we
Right.
have to sacrifice that in order to put good, solid practices in place, like visitor management, access control, surveillance, communication systems. All of these things are additional layers, and our kids deserve that. Our teachers deserve that.
How many of these schools, just to guide and give some perspective, how many of these schools that you visit actually have a proper emergency response plan?
Wow, that's a tough question because it runs the full gamut. We have some communities that are, I'm just in awe when I walk in, jaw on the floor, the work that's being done. And it's always a multidisciplinary team. The school communities that really have it top notch, they've got, mental and behavioral health folks working with law enforcement, school leaders, emergency managers, cafeteria staff, like everybody's involved. So I think I would say I would say there's probably about 20% that I would put in that bucket. And then the rest just kind of incrementally move out from there. And I would say that where it's a real challenge is where there is that cultural mindset that we don't have to worry about it here, that we're okay, we're a small community, or I grew up in this city, yeah, there's crime, but at least the schools are safe, whatever version it is of it won't happen here. Those are the schools where it's a real challenge to get people together, and also sometimes getting people out of their silos, right? Like getting law enforcement and security professionals talking, getting them working with classroom teachers, administrators, school-based mental health professionals. It really is, it's a team sport. And unless you're looking at it that way, you're falling short somewhere.
When you do a risk assessment, you typically have to do a priority setup, right? Like, here's your number one. And what do you typically find that number one recommendation being?
In terms of physical safety and security, I think
Let's do physical safety. Yeah.
yeah. I think for a lot of schools, the very first thing is access control. Our schools are often wide open, and if they even are like we were at Sandy Hook School, where at least we had locked doors, perimeter doors during the school day, they don't before and after school. And there are a whole host of community members and community events that are happening before and after school in a school building. That opens up a whole world of other possibilities and security and safety challenges. So I would say access control, knowing who's coming and going in the building, getting people to comply with things like badges, and utilizing credentials to allow people into the building.
Mm-hmm. So yes.
Not the public library. This is
right.
This is the place where our most precious people in the community are. So yes, you have to qualify to get in here. Those basics are absolutely essential.
So, this goes out, of course, to mostly people in the security sector that are well aware of this. But if this was to push out to schools across the country, and someone is thinking, ooh, I don't know what our security looks like. I mean, what's the first step they should take?
So I love pushing people to their local resources first, right? Reach out to a variety of stakeholders. Obviously, reach out to public safety, law enforcement, fire, those professionals that already work for you. You don't have to pay to get them in. But I think, utilizing security professionals that are in the community, by and large, they're going to be most invested in your school. So, for example, with your kids in their schools, you're going to do anything you can. You're going to provide whatever IP, whatever experience, whatever connection, resources you can, not because you want to turn a profit or anything, but because you believe in this and you want your community and you want your kids to be safe. So
absolutely,
tapping into those resources, and also just being clear. I'll be honest with you, I'm sure you know this, but a lot of educators are afraid of anyone who's corporate or selling anything or has solutions.
Yeah.
And so, you just get the hand a lot when you come really trying to help. And so I think just saying, look, I'm just here as a community member. I'm just here as a professional with, as an industry expert, and just consider me your guide. I'm here to help.
Absolutely. As a journalist, I want to ask you more too about your mental health and what you went through. And I asked you this when we had our initial call, and I thought you provided a really, really great, real answer. And I just want to ask it again. So as a parent going through what you went through, does the pain stay heightened every day when you wake up and realize the truth again? Do you relive that moment every day? And how do you cope with that?
So there are plenty of times during the day where it does just almost sucker punch you, and you're just like right back there in that moment. But I will say that people say, does time heal all wounds? Does it really? And for me, it's faith, right? Faith and my strengthening faith has helped me more than I could ever put into words. But I think you get stronger, and so the pain is still there, but you learn to bear it better, to carry it better. And I think I learned anyway, to put it to work. If I'm going to be stuck with it for the rest of my life, then I'm going to take this experience and I'm going to share it with people that can do something about it, like you, that will learn from the story, that will
Yeah.
learn from our painful lessons and turn that hindsight into somebody else's foresight. That's pretty healing.
And I hear you talk about your little Joey, and it reminds me of the article that I just read. My cousin lost a child, and she posted this article about how people tend to shy away from mentioning a name. They don't want to make you sad. They don't want to talk about it. But in all actuality, talking about your lost love actually keeps them living and breathing, right? So, do you find that to be true? You love talking about Joey?
100%. She's still here. She's still with me. And I feel like, and I think a lot of parents do, when they're talking about their child, it's almost like your child or your loved one is here with you.
Yeah.
And so it's a relationship. It's hard to explain this, but the relationship goes on, and so to continue talking about the love and the light and the joy that she brought into this world, and really the sense of purpose that she has provided us, in moving forward and building her this legacy. There's healing in that, there's hope in that. So
I love that. I do. Okay, so I want to plug your event coming up because this is fantastic. You're working hard on it. It's in October. It's a virtual event, so tell us about it.
Yeah, so it's the National Summit on School Safety. The past 2 years, obviously, it has been virtual, but that's been pretty cool for us. We've connected with a lot of people who wouldn't have normally been able to get on the plane and finance, the hotel and all of that stuff. So last year, we had almost 1,000 attendees come. It's 3 days, October 26th, 27th, and 28th. And it is just an unbelievable lineup of experts from all different aspects of school safety, sharing best practices, sharing experiences, sharing personal stories, lessons learned, you name it. And there's even on-demand access. So if you're busy, which everyone is, you can come back and you can watch those sessions after the live broadcast.
I love that. Okay, Michele, thank you so much for being with us today. I love this interview. I love the work you're doing. I appreciate it as a fellow mom above all else. And thanks to all of you for tuning in. Please come back to premierrisksolutions.com for more videos like this one. And if you have any questions, if you want to send them my way, Natasha at premierrisksolutions.com. I can put you in touch with Michele if you need more information from her. So again, safe and sound schools. Thank you so much, Michele.